So Leeds United need a number 8. This is pretty obvious, and it has been since Glenn Kamara decided he no longer wanted to be at the football club, which is a little bit of a problem because we didn't have many other number 8s. Archie Gray left. Ampadu played more as a centre-back. We still had Ilya Gruev, I guess, but there was a little bit of an approach from the likes of Borussia Dortmund. So it was pretty obvious that we needed one, and thankfully we might have one. And the best bit is, from a financial perspective, he is affordable too. Because, as far as I'm aware, as I'm recording this video at 20 to 1 on the 29th of August, 20 to 1 in the morning. This isn't a weird afternoon stream and I've time travelled. But Ao Tanaka looks like he has secured a move to Leeds United, or is at the very least on the verge of securing his move to Leeds United. Now, there are many things that have gone towards this, such as, well, the fact that he was missing training to negotiate. We'll also discuss how much he cost, how he plays, where he'll fit in the side, what we can expect in terms of timeline and announcements and stuff like that, and ultimately if he's a good move, before taking a little bit of a quick deep dive into Questions Corner, where the live stream chat, who's keeping me company throughout this recording session, will ask a bunch of questions. Thanks for keeping me sane, guys. I really appreciate it. But before that, I'd hugely appreciate if you could subscribe. I'm trying to get to 5,000 by the end of transfer deadline day, which is going to be tough. But I think with everyone working together, we will get there. So let's dive into it. With the fact that he missed training to negotiate. Basically, Dusseldorf had training for their match on Friday, today. So working on stuff like shape, structure, set pieces, all the fun stuff that you do in training, presumably not just physical things because they have a match in a matter of days. And interestingly, Ao Tanaka wasn't there. Reports say that he was given permission to not attend because he was discussing various transfer things and negotiating stuff, which tells me that there is a club very, 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 very close to signing him. Now, as the only club that's been reported to have an interest in signing Ao Tanaka, we're in a very good spot. And the best bit is, because there is no other club in this conversation, the question of how much it'll cost isn't too much of an issue either. It's looking like, and reports vary a little bit, somewhere between £2.5 and £3 million, €3 to €4 million are the two ranges that I've heard, but they add up to approximately the same sort of numbers. And that's really affordable, especially for a Japan international. I think, is he currently in the international side? I think so. Who plays at a fairly decent level for Dusseldorf. And you also need to consider wages in this conversation. His wages aren't too high. As far as I'm aware, his wages were between 10 and 15k last season, which is something that we can match with ease, especially if we think we're going to go up, and he will add to the squad. So in terms of cost, it's looking good, but in terms of style, does he fit? And I think he absolutely does. So he can play as an 8. He can do the box-to-box stuff. He likes a shot from time to time. If I remember right, he got 7 goals, 3 assists last season, something like that. But even then, he created 6 big chances, only 3 of which were converted. So I think we've got good enough finishes to make that even better. In addition to that, he's happy to sit a little bit deeper from time to time, do some of the defensive work, which is spectacular. That's what we sort of need at the minute, because it's not always going to be all go all the time. We're going to need to keep a good few clean sheets this season. And he can also play in the 10, which is very helpful, because we don't know whether or not we'll get a 10, or do we? Keep an eye out for the Gus Hamer video that's coming out later. So in terms of where he fits into the side, it feels like he fits very, very easily in. It feels like there's a lot of places that we can slot him. It's something that I was saying when I was doing Football Manager streams. You don't want for your round hole a square peg, but you don't necessarily want for your square hole a square peg either. You want a sort of spongy peg, a sort of malleable one that can go into multiple holes and fill them as effectively as anywhere else. That does a decent enough job absolutely everywhere on the pitch. Someone's Stuart Dallasy. You want your sponge pegs. So I think he can go in any sort of spots in the midfield and will do excellently, and is the perfect sort of utility player that we're looking for, that can also start. He's not just going to be good off the bench. So outside of that, if we are to sign him, what can we expect from the timeline? So we know that he wasn't training for Dusseldorf yesterday. In my opinion, this means that a move is incredibly close. But whilst it might be a case of trying to get everything signed and all the press stuff done on today, Thursday, I feel like the club's going to wait. I feel like the club will wait until deadline day, where there's potential to announce 2 or 3 moves together. Not all at once, obviously, but within a set time frame of one another. Just because it's better for PR. Just because it'll have more eyes on it, and it is a lot better to try and pump up a bit of hype. If on deadline day you've done 2 or 3 signings rather than, yeah, well, we did one before deadline day and then one happened at like 4 p.m. on deadline day. Doesn't have the same whack, doesn't have that oomph. So I think it's going to be a case of, yes, things might be done today, but it might be announced tomorrow. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. I'm wrong on this one. Fair enough. But that's what I'm predicting. Ultimately, there's a question of whether or not he's a good move, and I think absolutely yes. I do not see a drawback in signing this guy. Wages, fine. Cost in terms of transfer fee, genuinely fantastically affordable. Looking even beyond all of that, asking the question of, okay, sure, so transfer fees are alright, wages are alright, how is he as a player? He's excellent. Yes, he might be in the Zweite Bundesliga, second Bundesliga, sorry. I have listened to far too much of the TIFO podcast. But Fortuna Dusseldorf is a good side, and he is an excellent player within that side. I think he'd be an excellent deal for Leeds United. But kind of curious about what you guys think, and I'm kind of curious about what the chat thinks. So we're going to hop over to Questions Corner, where I'm going to take 2 or 3 questions about Ao Tanaka and have a little bit of a discussion. But whilst I'm waiting for those questions to roll in, you guys who are watching on the video, please comment below what you're thinking. Like the video if you haven't yet, and subscribe because I'm trying to hit that 5k. It'd be fantastic if I could do so. And yeah, we're going to hop over to Questions Corner with the first one coming in from Matthew Hall, who asks, does Tanaka get straight in the squad, or does he need to earn his place? I think he gets into the matchday side. He gets into the 20, because I don't see Charlie Crew keeping him out in terms of level. However, like a Ramazani and a Solomon, I think he'd need to force his way into the first 11, because that's a different question entirely. All senior players that we are signing should, in theory, immediately make it into that squad. But beyond that, into the first 11, different question. Why didn't Kamara work for Farkas' system, and why will Tanaka? Kamara was a little bit... He was less someone that will control the pace of a match and more someone that will naturally slow a game down, which is okay. That's fine. There's a place for a player like that. But as you saw with the way that Kamara rarely got forward, rarely had a shot, Tanaka isn't that. Tanaka will bring goals from the middle of the park, which ultimately is going to make a pretty big difference for us. 7 goals last season is nothing to sniff at. And translate 7 goals across to the Championship last season, we probably go up. And that can be the difference, I think. His more aggressive profile is ultimately what could make a bit of a difference. On this one, Chris, we discussed this literally yesterday. Just because you've never heard of a player doesn't make them bad at football. What would you say to those who are saying he's the cheap option? I would say that a cheap option isn't necessarily a bad option. Somerville cost us £1.5 million. Pascal Strike was a free. Willy Gnonto cost £4 million. And just this last summer, Real Madrid got Kylian Mbappe on a free. Good players can be cheap, which is fine. There's also this. Didn't trust his bench last season, but now there's more quality there. Will we need to replace him if we get promoted? I don't think so. I think he's got the quality to make that step up. But then again, if we go up, we will have the war chest that we need in order to properly solidify that. And I will take one more quick question, which is going to be from David Gray. What are your views on Rothwell versus Tanaka? I don't have a preference, because Rothwell hasn't played much for us. Tanaka has never played for us, and I'll be honest, I've not seen that many of his full matches. I've seen bits of him, because when I've been working in Germany events with DAZN stuff. But my view on Rothwell versus Tanaka isn't that I have a preference of either of them. It's that the fact that they have to compete with one another is good for us in general, because it means that they will both need to try and force their way into the side, and that is always a good position to be in for a football club. because it means we're getting better performances out of both of them. But that's what the chat thinks right now. I want to know what you guys think. So let me know in the comments down below what you think, whether or not we should sign Ao Tanaka. Do you think it gets done? Like, subscribe. You can even become a channel member. You can see videos such as this one 5 hours before they come out, which is great. It's 99p a month, and I'm doing these videos most days at this point, so it's fun, isn't it? Hope you enjoyed. I will see you later. We really need to think of that fun little... We need to think of a song that isn't just AO, let's go. Anyway, see you later.